compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
A major disturbance. Water which was running from a water wheel bowels into a pond, creates a noise mixing with the hum of people's voices. Alarming tones appeared from the rumors spread in the city more and more often. Only when guards came to a crowd calmed down as if in order. There is a little pond with a water wheel and people always gathered around it. Well, I think you understand that it was in the steppe and water was the only source of life. Thus, people always were here. There was a constant activity, water, trade and intense activities. For example, a woman said to her husband, "I will take a picture to get water. I'll be back in 5 minutes." "I know when you went there last time, you returned only in the evening," answered her husband. Another woman living in Zhanibek carried a full pitcher and hurried home to share the last news. Something strange and frightening was happening in the huge empire called the Golden Horde. After Zhanibek's death, his son Bek came to the throne. However, he ruled only for 3 years, and afterwards the so-called period of a major disturbance started. 25 Khans came to the throne over 20 years. The major disturbance was the reshuffle of Khans who replaced each other a few times a year. It was a civil war known as the Major Disturbance in the Horde when everyone fought against everyone else. The extermination of the Juchids, which took place when Zhanibek Khan, Taidula's grandson, led to the Major Disturbance. Chapter 1. Shadows from the Past. From time to time, Zhanibek was delirious at night. He saw the dead and confused them with people who were alive. Unapproachable and severe, Zhanibek appeared and his eyes were closed. Unfortunate Hederbek, looking like a caught step hare, loomed in front of him. The crime committed in the past, which he had tried to suspend for many years, returned and demanded retribution. The Khan was brought here to Zhanibek. Although it was not the main city in the Horde, it was majestic. He liked it more than other cities. It was a spiritual capital of the empire. His father, the Uzbek Khan, was buried there and Zhanibek became the ruler. However, he did not like recalling in which way he had come to the throne. Probably he was the only Golden Horde's Khan who built his palace around here and ruled in Zhanibek without leaving it. I mean that although the territory of the Golden Horde was immense, at that time Zhanibek, the Khan's palace, was in Zhanibek. According to quotations from manuscripts, Zhanibek was kind and different from other Muslim rulers. He was an advocate of the fair law. He was famous for his justice, sanity, and generosity. At this time, the Horde residents lived as if they were behind a stone wall and they did not need to hide behind the walls. They were strong and they were not afraid of anybody. They didn't even build walls around because they didn't think that there was no need to do it. There was no power which they had to be protected from. Then Zhanibek was hardly alive and his comrades in arms gathered around him, or had they already become enemies? He asked to call Taidula. We don't even know exactly if she was Zhanibek's mother or wife because different sources give different sources of information. Today, the majority of researchers relying on circumstantial evidences provided by the sources and sometimes on direct indications tend to think that Taidula was an Uzbek Khan's wife. The researchers agree about the fact that Taidula played quite an important part in the whole story. First, she helped Zhanibek get rid of his stepbrother, and then she gathered supporters who were against his elder brother. Because of the fierce fighting, he died in mysterious circumstances and Zhanibek became the Khan in 1342. When Zhanibek was the ruler, Taidula had considerable influence on both internal and external political affairs. Her commercial skills were impressive too. Part of the taxes collected by the huge country went to Taidula's private treasury. Her power was not less significant than the Khan's one. She even issued law pronouncements or jargons of her own. Nomadic laws permitted Khatun, the first wife, to hold considerable power and enjoy various rights. She lived quite long and was notable for the influence she exerted on the throne heirs. The destiny of each of them literally depended on her. According to one of the versions, the queen tried to cure Zhanibek. Probably she even appealed to the Metropolitan of Moscow, Alexei, who was considered a miracle worker, for help. However, sources give obscure and controversial information about the future events. Chapter 2. The New Curve of History. It happened in Sarai, or probably Saraychik, which was also mentioned in connection with this story in medieval manuscripts. The climate was built milder and there was an atmosphere which was better for an ill person. Francesco Pigolatti visited the city in the 14th century and wrote that at the time of Zhanibek Khan he picked fruits from the trees. He did not grow even in Persia. Besides saplings, Zhanibek Khan brought the gardeners from the east and they had to remain in Saraychik until those trees started to bear fruit. In that period, the neighborhood of Saraychik was called a resort and entertainment area. Noble people of the Golden Horde went there to fish and hunt. It was the so-called fashionable resort of the Golden Horde. The illness of the Golden Horde ruler was concealed completely. Immediate execution was a punishment for disclosure of this information. According to official reports sent on behalf of Zhanibek to other sovereigns, on the occasion of conquest of Azerbaijan, the situation in the country was favorable.
Геополитический фактор здесь стоял на первом месте, потому что
The geopolitical factor was at the top priority because otherwise Zhanibek would not have been recognized as the ruler in the northern regions and mighty ruler keeping control over the Great Silk Road.
который контролировал путь, Великий Шелковый путь.
Zhanibek's son returned unexpectedly. Beridek was the governor of Azerbaijan town Tabriz. It was said that the loyal people had warned the prince that the throne was almost vacant. He gave up everything and hurried home. He is recovering, Beridek was told as soon as he entered. He was standing looking at his emancipated father and saw he was really recovering. His parent recovered from the madness Beridek had been told about. Food and time would help him stand and rule for many years longer. Damn it, he was losing power over the Golden Horde, 1/4 of the world again. According to the medieval historian Abul Ghazi, the Khan himself lost hope to cure his disease and sent a person to Beridek to tell him to return. He gathered his people and hurried to appoint Beridek as his heir in his absence. Abul Ghazi wrote, "He said a lot for education and died afterwards." Zhanibek ascended the throne in Saraychik, and after death he was buried here. There is a disagreement about when Zhanibek died. Some researchers write that he died in 1357, although he carried out military actions aimed at the capture of Azerbaijan in 1358.
Свои, так сказать, военные действия по захвату территории Азербайджана.
Nevertheless, according to multiple sources, Zhanibek died a violent death. They say that either his own son or people sent by him strangled the Khan. However, there are some different versions too. Foreigners could be involved in it too. They could be the Venetians or Genoese people, or maybe people from Iran. In any case, it is another curve of the spiral of history. Chapter 3. everything is an illusion. The country managed and even prospered for some time. Tribute and taxes were paid, trade was conducted and caravans came. At that time, the Golden Horde was one of the most developed hordes in the time. Their culture developed, and we should emphasize that it was a Muslim culture. Probably it was connected to migration of part population from Persia. Representatives of different people and different countries gathered there. They shaped the destiny of the medieval Eurasian world. Vassals from the empire arrived to get jarlegs, allowing them to reign. Representatives of other countries attended big receptions. Everything in complicated state system of Zhanibek's kingdom went smoothly. His son Berdibek ascended the throne. He was not a rightful heir because the Khans of the Golden Horde were supposed to be elected, at least formally. He came to the throne nonetheless. Having ascended the throne first, Berdibek got rid of his possible opponents. All of the sources agree on this. The new Khan did not even spare his 8-month-old brother, although Taidula begged him to spare the baby's life. According to medieval historians, he got rid of 12 relatives then. A few children of Zhanibek Khan were buried in Sarichik. Soon, fierce fighting followed the wind of change. Not all the emirs except Berdibek. They attracted like-minded people and were successful in it. Strife and discord reigned in the Horde. Did a lot of time pass after the most prominent Khan, Zhanibek, got ill and became insane, and his son Berdibek stopped his father from suffering by tightening a black noose around his neck. Afterwards, Berdibek was killed too. Berdibek ruled for about 3 years and disappeared from the world arena without leaving good memories. However, the discord continued. Khatun Taidula, using her wisdom and money, managed to prevent the empire from collapse for some time. Not young Queen even got married for this purpose. However, the disturbance did not spare anyone. She was killed together with one of her proteges, Naruz Khan, who presumably was one of her husbands. Although he was not from Batu clan, he was considered a legitimate Khan, and probably thanks to his marriage with Taidula. Later, fighting for power started. People were saying that they were Zhanibek's sons who had survived, appeared one after another. A few imposters came every year. 25 Khans came to the throne over 20 years of disturbance. Some of them could not manage for half a year. Some ruled for a year or a bit more. The coins issued during the period of the Major Disturbance were minted without any Khan's image because it was pointless. After that, the Golden Horde faced feudal fragmentation and started dividing into separate khanats. Historians are confident that the bloody massacre of his relatives carried out by Berdibek caused agony of the mighty state. The Major Disturbance was its dying breath. Epilogue: Twilight of the Big City. Historians say that Toktamish's governing was an attempt to restore the former glory of the Golden Horde, but it was impossible to prevent the collapse, the process which inevitably led to the appearance of something new. History repeated itself later, even during the period when the Kazakh Khanat was established, because the Golden Horde was a precursor of the Kazakh Khanat.
Золотая Орда, она и является предтечей образования казахского ханства.
Luxurious palaces turned into dust, and sometimes sunlight glints on a piece of pitcher at dusk. Fragments of pottery are often found in Sarichik. Only ruins and legends remained of once prosperous city. It is not clear what parts of these legends belong to history and what parts belong to fairy tale. The city remained after the Golden Horde collapsed. Later, Sarichik was the capital of the Nogai Horde and the Kazakh Khanat. twilight and sunset are always followed by dawn.